A California man was sentenced to 4 years in prison for his role in abusing COVID-19 relief loans. He was convicted of fraudulently obtaining the loans and spending the funds for personal use, including purchases of multiple high-priced properties.
36-year-old Irvine resident Reddy Budamala pleaded guilty to 1 federal count each of bank fraud and money laundering. He was arrested last February while attempting to flee to Mexico via the San Isidro border crossing. According to court papers, Budamala launched the scheme back in 2019 before the COVID-19 outbreak after forming and acquiring 3 shell companies with no operations and an additional 3 businesses. He was given over $5.15 million in relief loans that he used for personal expenses. He also used the funds to purchase multiple luxury properties in Eagle Rock, Malibu, and Irvine. A statement from the U.S. Attorney's Office said that the listed addresses of the companies were non-existent or residential. The guilty plea comes as the CEO of LexisNexis Risk Solutions Government Division told NBC's KCRA3 that his company estimates COVID fraud in the state is over $32 billion. Diane C. Bass, Budamala's defense attorney, said that her client became desperate after falling on hard times. She commented, quote, "It was his intention to invest the funds, which he did, and then repay the loans, but he did not get a chance to do that before being arrested." Budamala was ordered to pay $5.15 million in restitution to the Small Business Administration and will be serving 4 years in a federal prison. He will then be deported to his native country of India upon completion of his prison sentence.
Only a portion of homeless people in Los Angeles are moving from interim housing to permanent housing. That's as the homeless population rose by just over 4% in a 2-year period.
The Los Angeles Homeless Rehousing Program provides temporary housing for 20,000 adults. According to data released by the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority on Monday, around 1/5 of people living in interim housing shelters in Los Angeles moved into permanent housing over the last fiscal year. The data was part of a new set of key performance indicator metrics presented by the agency. The goal is to measure the progress of people experiencing homelessness through the rehousing system. Molly Reisman, Chief Program Officer of LAHSA, said at a news briefing that ideally an interim shelter bed could serve 4 or 5 people a year. LAHSA's most recent homeless count, released earlier this month, showed a 4.1% increase in the number of homeless people in Los Angeles since 2020. The Los Angeles Times reported last week that LAHSA returned $29 million in federal grants from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development between 2015 and 2020. Bill Thomas, NTD News, Los Angeles.
Affidavits that have been publicly released by the FBI prompted 3 Anaheim city officials to return several campaign donations. The donations in questions came from donors with links to individuals who are under investigation for corruption and fraudulent payment schemes.
Earlier this year, the FBI publicly released 2 affidavits that detailed alleged fraud and corruption involving multiple Anaheim officials. These developments prompted 3 Anaheim City Council members to return campaign donations from those involved. Anaheim Mayor Pro Tem Trevor O'Neill, along with Councilman Avelino Valencia and Councilwoman Gloria Maai, returned several $1,000s in donations. The first affidavit named the Anaheim Chamber of Commerce's CEO Todd Ament and an unnamed political consultant, widely believed to be Jeff Flint, former CEO of FSB Public Affairs and Core Strategic Group. The second affidavit identified former Anaheim Mayor Harry Sadu. It described an alleged pay-for-play scheme involving the sale of Anaheim Stadium to the development company of Angels baseball team owner Artie Moreno. Sadu resigned in May but has not been arrested or charged with a crime. The Angels franchise and its owners are also not accused of any wrongdoing. According to campaign finance records, the return donations were all linked to Ament, Flint, Sadu, and Moreno. Anaheim Mayor Pro Tem Trevor O'Neill, who assumed mayoral duties following Sadu's resignation, returned $9,600 in donations to multiple entities that were affiliated with Ament and Flint. City Councilman Avelino Valencia returned $2,500 back to FSB Public Affairs, where Flint is currently on a leave of absence due to the investigations. Councilwoman Gloria Maai also returned campaign donations totaling $2,200 to the Anaheim Chamber of Commerce and another $2,200 to Ament's consulting firm. In August, the City Council kicked off an independent investigation which will audit all campaign contributions and conflicts of interest. Officials are estimating that the investigation could cost between $1.5 million and $2.5 million. Bill Thomas, NTD News, California.
Driving to and from work or school every day can be an hours-long headache. To ease the pain, many commuters in Southern California are jumping out of their cars and trucks and discovering a different and perhaps more affordable way to get around town. NTD's Bill Thomas has more.
In celebration of Metrolink's 30th birthday, the rail service has a special offer for folks who are tired of high gas prices, brutally long commutes, and expensive vehicle repair. It may be time to get out of the car, jump into a train, and maybe even save some money.
Karen Baker, a spokesperson for Metrolink, says discounts are a great incentive to get people into a train car.
Metrolink has been around since 1992. Later in October, we will be celebrating our 30th birthday. And we will be celebrating by providing our loyal riders with 30% off our monthly pass. We're doing that so we can get people out of their cars and give them more reasons to ride the train.
The cut in price for the monthly passes will last 3 months with some restrictions.
So the discount will be available for the months of October, November, and December of 2022, and the price will really depend on where our riders are starting and where they're ending. So when they purchase their ticket, they actually have to select an origin station and a destination station, and the price will depend on that.
Baker says the monthly pass works well for a lot of people, but there are also other ticket options.
It depends on how often you ride. So if you're riding 2 or 3 times a week, then it makes a lot of sense to get the monthly pass, especially with this discount that we're offering. If you're riding very infrequently, you might just buy a single ticket. However, if you're still riding regularly, but maybe not as frequently as you used to, we do have other passes available, such as a 5-day Flex Pass and our 10-day Flex Pass.
Metrolink serves 6 counties in Southern California, including LA, Orange, Ventura, San Diego, as well as Riverside and San Bernardino counties, and that means a lot of passengers.
Our ridership today, pre-pandemic, was about 40,000. Obviously, since the pandemic, that has gone down. We are now a little less than half of our pre-pandemic ridership, but with people going back to the office, students going back to school, we're climbing our way back up, and we hope that this discount that we're offering will get people on the train.
Baker says the train is better than driving because you can be more productive.
You can get some work done, check your emails, text, tweet, scroll your Facebook feed, even just take a nap.
And most cars don't have facilities, but Metrolink thought of everything.
I'm happy to say that we have bathrooms on our trains, and all of our trains are very clean. We clean and sanitize them daily, and that includes the bathrooms, of course.
But for those people who are catching a ride on the rails, Baker stresses the need for safety around the tracks.
Always stay alert around railroad tracks. That means put your phone down, take headphones off. Always assume that there will be a train coming. We are not the only trains that run along these tracks, so there could be a freight train coming. And my final piece of advice would be, if you're in a car and your car gets stuck on the tracks, get out of the car immediately and move as far away from the car as you can.
Southern California is a massive region, and while Metrolink might not be right for everyone, they are a unique travel alternative. The trains average about 38 miles per hour, including stops, and if you take the train to work, you might even be able to squeeze in a nap. Bill Thomas, NTD News, Los Angeles.
Speakers of one of the most common foreign languages in California are afraid coming generations are losing their roots. That language is Cantonese, one of the many Chinese dialects.
Cantonese. It's spoken by nearly all the locals living in San Francisco's Chinatown and by more than 80 million people worldwide. In San Francisco, the majority of the city's estimated 250,000 residents of Chinese descent still speak Cantonese, as the language continues to be passed down from family members. But despite that, some Cantonese speakers are concerned that the use of the language is declining.
And Cantonese means a lot to the 85 million native speakers in the world. In North America, it also means a lot to the heritage language speakers.
Professor Sik Lee Denig was born in Hong Kong and later moved to the United States, where she taught Cantonese at Stanford for more than 20 years. But in 2020, she decided to retire after she said the university cut funding to the school's Cantonese program while maintaining its Mandarin classes. Mandarin is spoken throughout the majority of mainland China, Taiwan, and other Chinese diaspora areas.
Cantonese is not a dialect of Mandarin. Some people think that way. They have their unique history, their unique development.
After retiring, Denig founded the Cantonese Alliance of North America, aiming to preserve the Cantonese language and culture in the continent.
A lot of them talk about how Cantonese connects them with their roots, with the culture, with the communities, with their parents, with their grandparents. That is very important to their own confidence and cultural identity.
In the U.S. and other Western countries, Cantonese has traditionally been the more common tongue of the Chinese language. This is due to early Chinese immigrants coming mainly from Cantonese-speaking southern China and Hong Kong.
Half of my family came over from Hong Kong, and so my dad speaks Cantonese, my family speaks Cantonese, and I never really learned it fully growing up and wanted to be able to have conversations with my grandma. Sometimes there's grandmas on the bus that need help, and it would be nice to be able to fully communicate with them and help them out.
For Chung and many others, knowing the language helps them communicate better with community members.
Many doctors that come to my Cantonese class because they told me they have many Cantonese-speaking patients, so they need to communicate with the patients. And then also nurses. Nurses are required, if they can speak Cantonese, they can earn higher salary.
Cantonese professor Grace Yu was born in Hong Kong and has taught Cantonese at a community college for more than 30 years.
And then I have some real estate agents, social workers, lawyers who have clients that speak Cantonese, and Caucasian people that have spouses that speak Cantonese. They like to learn their spouse's culture and language.
A linguistics professor talked about the importance of one's environment.
Less people are speaking Cantonese in traditionally Cantonese-speaking areas, which is worrying. In the past, people from everywhere who came to Guangzhou would be able to speak Cantonese because of the peers. Their peers would teach them. The peers would teach them Cantonese in the past. But now only Cantonese families can pass on the language to the kids.
In China, people have voiced concerns over the years about the drop in Cantonese in the city of Guangzhou, formerly Canton, the birthplace of Cantonese. They say there's been an influx of Mandarin speakers in the region as the technology sector grows. Some also say the Chinese Communist Party has placed pressure to favor the Mandarin language, leading Cantonese to become less popular.
I'm very sad to see the Hong Kong education system has become sort of monolithic. And Cantonese is such a rich, diverse, rigorous language, and then with an attempt to sort of eliminate it, it is very sad.
But Cantonese has maintained its omnipresence in Hong Kong. It is the city's lingua franca and is used by 90% of the population as a daily language.
We are already witnessing the shift. That's why we need to keep Cantonese alive.
For the Cantonese speakers living outside of China, getting their children to learn the language from a young age is important to having a strong grasp on their heritage language.